I failed this class. I didn't make it. They didn't accept me. I know all about it. I know all about it, but I want you to know that you can still make it to the top in an unorthodox manner. Whether or not you had the tools, or whether or not the cards that you got dealt was a trash hand, whether or not you had to scrape up things from fundraisers, whether or not you got kids divorced, whether or not you're grieving because you lost someone, or parents or family, like all of these things was a part of my story. Um, I lost a lot, but man, I gained so much more. Hey, winners, it's Dr. DDB, your Elite MD. Winners win, and we are winning. Listen, we don't never get tired of that phrase, okay? So I get a lot of flack like, you a doctor? Yeah, bruh, I'm an MD. But one thing that be coming through is, Dr. Didi, why you care so much about this RN? Y'all, so last year my RN license lapsed. And I'm telling you, I've been on this thing like ugly on the ape. Like, I need to get my RN back in position, okay? And people ask me, like, why is such a big deal? Like, you an MD now. What the woo? I'm like, man, if only you knew. None of these letters behind my name came easy. None of them. You know how people be talking about the NCLEX and they be like, oh yeah, mine shut off at 75. Oh, this, that, and the third. Baby, your girl don't got none of them stories. Okay, so listen up to this story about, why my RN is important to me. I get a lot of questions from students, just about like, how you do it. Like just on the basis of the RN, like how you got it done. So let me tell y'all a quick little story about the background. So y'all, when I was 8, I really was like, I'm finna be a RN like my grandmother and take care of people. Like I, in my heart of hearts, thought my grandmother was an RN. People used to be like, you look like her, you got a little spice like her, all these things. Only to find out that my grandmother was an administrative assistant, or like she worked in the lawyer office or whatever she did, but it was very like office like work. She was spicy. But what I think came across more than anything about the title and her name was the discipline and the importance that she placed on education and my mom. So growing up, for the summertime, yes, baby, workbooks. Before you go outside and play, you need to get these workbooks done. And if you get too many of them wrong, I'm going to pop your little tail until you get it right. Then you can go outside and play because you couldn't stay in the AC all day, okay? And then the second thing was, as I got to like third grade and we got into these honors classes, they sent you home with summer work, okay? And my mama did not play. She wanted to know what the summer work was because she was going to make sure you get it done. And that meant book reports, all these books these people had you reading, they was going to get done. They were going to get done right. And they was going to be ready by the first day of school as they requested. Another thing was, as I got older and the responsibility laid more on me to get work done, these report cards was not digital. They was paper. Now my brother changed a couple of his grades in the past, okay? Your girl wasn't swervy like that. So when these C's came through the door, oh, you think it's all right to bring seeds in here? Baby, y'all remember the phone used to have that long cord, and the cord used to go from my brother's room to my room. They switched their joker to a short cord when I got grounded. So wasn't no phone. Oh, that boombox you love so much? Put that in my closet. Y'all know back in the day we had CDs galore. No ma'am, no music. Even though a alarm clock had music, that joker was gone. So it was all these things. There was a consequence for not delivering excellence or your best, I should say. But the beauty about that is that it instilled in me character, integrity, discipline, but also those environments that my mom set me up in. I didn't realize it then, but it created this underlying, like, I can do better. I want to do better. And I have to thank God for the parents that I had, because some of my other friends was like, man, my mom ain't tripping off these grades. And I had jobs, y'all. I'm talking about, it was not easy. It's not like, oh, well, you're going to go to RN school and somebody going to help you pay. No, ma'am. You had to figure it out. And
me and my brother, we was working at 11, cleaning houses. He was cutting grass. I tell people all the time I lied about my age in order to get my first job because we had to help keep lights on and food in the refrigerator. At a certain time in my life, we was losing everything. So to still have the dream to become a RN was like, it was a huge dream. And my mom never let me forget it. So, y'all, during high school, they had this program called Tech Prep, and you can go to college while you was in high school. But the real reason why you wanted to do that is because you got out of school early. But in addition to that, they also had like this work thing where if you had a job, then you can also get out of school early. So your girl was just like, let me out of school early. And also, I was in honors, so I had finished classes earlier. So my senior year, I just remember a lot of my time being at college, a lot of it being at work, and I missed the opportunity to bond with my classmates and all of the people. They were so excited. I remember on graduation day, and I was bawling my eyes out because I had this dream and I had no idea how to get there. That's why I'm always talking about this unorthodox way of doing things. So I was applying to colleges, hoping to get a scholarship. And I got partial scholarships, but at the end of the day, like the bill was on my back. And I just didn't know how I was going to get that joker paid. So I started out at a community college. And I shopped myself around to go to bigger universities. But the amount of money that they were asking for, and then y'all remember back then it was fast when you had lines. Okay, you would go get in these lines for days, and I would get in these lines, and they was like, okay, we could pay for some of it, but then you're gonna have to get personal loans, and you needed a co-signer, and my family just wasn't. It just wasn't set up like that for these personal loans and these payments. My life just was not set up like that, and I just remember, starting out at community colleges and doing the best I could, working, paying bills. My aunt, gave me money for a class one time. I had to pay her back and just kind of piecemealing it together. And then finally, I was like, Mom, I'm finna take some time off. And life was life, and we had a lot of things going on in our world that the puzzle pieces just was spread apart, and I didn't know how they was gonna come together. And we can talk about that a different day. I wanted to make this more about the, my RN stride. So I took some time off actually and started working on this cruise boat to save up some money so I could be in a better position to make executive decisions about this RN dream. And when I got off of that cruise boat and I had saved up some money and I got me a reliable car, me and my girlfriend, we drove to Virginia thinking I'm finna go out here to Howard or do something, grand. And on that road, she was talking to me about Alaska, y'all. And in that drive, running away from all of the chaos of Mardi Gras, on that drive, she talked me into going to Anchorage, Alaska. And I sent all of my paperwork up there. And there was an angel up there who helped me get my what do you call it? My financial aid together, housing, all of these things. She just was just a phenomenal person. I kept running into people that just kept helping me bring the puzzle pieces closer together. But in doing so, the RN came closer and closer to me. Now listen, they had the fast track, y'all, where there was 16 months that you could do for like, I don't even remember back then. Maybe it was 900 and something dollars for however many semesters or whatever else. They had that going on, but to pay $900 up top off pocket just wasn't available. Then I had bigger schools that was offering me, but like I said, living in certain places and bouncing around, it just, couldn't live by myself and pay that bill, so forth and so on, led me to say yes to Anchorage, Alaska. And when I got there, first of all, I cried all the way through Texas because we drove up there, okay? But when I got there, things just started moving in the right direction. I never wanted an associate's degree. I thought I would get an LPN and work and do all these things, but that didn't happen. I sold jewelry when I got up there, and I worked at a place for children that required services for 30 days inpatient psych. And as I was doing that as a tech, I was also going to school to get my RN. And in those times of like working and doing RN, them folks was like, if we find out that any of y'all got a job, y'all getting kicked out of school. So even your job had to be on the low. That's back when like RN school was like, it was just something serious, y'all. We was in all white, all of the things. But one thing I remember was always requiring help. And what I mean by that is group group study. I remember like, I need a group study because I'm just not getting this. Or we had projects. They required us to work together on these projects. So what I'm saying is that there was always this helping hand. It wasn't an individuality. It's like they was instilling in us that RN meant togetherness. And in the option of having to go to this big university, there were bigger classes, and these bigger classes brought bigger diversity, which I thank God for. So in that diversity, like there were people that, this thing came easy to, and I made sure they was in my study groups because I was like, I'm not catching on. And y'all, I'm talking about when I got to I think it was pharmacology, failed by 0.6. Something crazy to it, wasn't it? I was like, she could have gave me that. She was like, no ma'am, I'm not giving you anything. And I couldn't tell I was working and doing other things that other people weren't doing. So I had to retake that class. And in retaking that class, I remember this beautiful crystal blue-eyed young lady sitting next to me in a different class. And her sweet spirit, and then come to find out the struggles of RN school led her to take her life. I mean, we were out here like giving our best to be the best in our class. But becoming an RN was just dire. That's the word I can say. Like everybody felt like this is something that I am working so hard for. Like this is the thing that I'm after with all of my heart and all of my sweat and tears. And I remember weeping for her. But I also remember my mom telling me to get up off of the fail of a class, off of not graduating with my class, get up and still move forward. And in doing that, it created this resilience of feeling that I was going to need in the future. But I said all that to say that it just wasn't easy. And then at the end of the day, working and going through the stages of everything was in itself a lot, right? Hurricane Katrina hit, y'all. So I started there in 2003. Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, so there was a whole different slew of responsibilities. At first I thought, hey, I'm finna buy a house. I'm gonna get me some extra money for roommates so that I can let up, so I can do better in school. And now I have to work so much. Y'all, I was taking breaks from school in the middle of the day. I was going to work, taking a break from work for an hour to go to class, to come back to go to work, because I had a truck note and I had an apartment. Like I had to pay these bills. And then I remember working 16-hour shifts on the weekends to make it work. And even my job was a blessing to me. They was like, hey D, we'll give you a full-time job of working these 2 16-hour shifts and pay you for 40. Like it just, like I said, God created these puzzle pieces to come closer and closer together. And what I do remember is when Hurricane Katrina hit, and knowing that my sister was going through something in her senior year, that she wasn't going to be able to recover back to this person that she knew. Popular, running track, had made the newspaper, like all of the things that we enjoyed as a senior at John Ehret High School. My sister was hoping to follow in our footsteps, me and my brother, and she wasn't going to get that opportunity because she had landed herself in Anchorage, Alaska because of her sister. And I remember like calling my mom, like, send me my baby, give me power of attorney, I'll put her in school and all these things. And before you know it, my entire family is now living with me. And it's my last year of nursing school, y'all. And I mean, all of the blessings that came along with it, but all of the responsibility came along with it as well. So I just remember um, it just not being easy, okay? Not being easy. Um, I remember this one class, I was borderline, y'all, of getting, I think, a D in this class and wouldn't be able to graduate and all these things. And she told me, in order for you to get a B in this class, you was going to need a 90 something percent on this exam. And y'all, I studied and everything else. And when I'm talking about, I was the last person. Y'all, this is when Scantrons was the thing. And I remember just coloring in my Scantron and sitting there, and I was the last person to turn my paper in. And you know how you know people just don't believe in you? I just remember that teacher just like, baby. And I turned my paper in, and it was a few hours later. You know that teacher called me and she said, I did not think that you was gonna pull this off, but you got a 98%. You got the highest grade in the class. Um, you know, just to be on borderline and know what I was doing for my family, and for God to kiss me on the forehead and say, you gonna graduate, was just a thing. Um, but not only that, y'all, okay, so I graduate, and y'all, I was in the Black History Club, and I had gotten Dean's List. Like, there was a lot of accomplishments in it. But when it came down to that NCLEX, because it's all about, okay, when you graduate, it's a celebration now. When you graduate from this art, and it's a celebration. But when you got to go and take that board exam, so I worked for 6 months. Okay, your girl just was like, I'm over exams. I need to make money for my family. Like, so you can work on a temp license for I think about 6 months. And baby, my 6 months came up. And I took that exam like it wasn't nothing. Everybody was like, oh, I didn't even study and do it, and took their advice. They talking about they computer cut off at 75. Baby, I was at 300 or something. That computer still was going. And yep, failed. And then I think a few months later, y'all, I took that thing again, and I was with the wrong person. So I thank God, because I think if I would have passed that exam that time, it would have been all bad for this relationship I was in. Failed at that time, okay? And I said, baby, if you don't get serious, and I sat my butt down, y'all. So you got to remember, I lost my job. At the time, I was a foster parent. My job let me come back because it took some time for me to get my face up off the ground. So I was involved in so many different things during that temp license. So I was a foster parent. I'm doing respite care. I worked 2 jobs. So I was hustling in those 6 months. But after you fail, you can't go back to work. So the first time I failed, I was off, and then my job let me come back as a lower person, so I could come back, and I did kind of like LPN/work. Um, but I just was out here. I was teaching modeling, like I was doing all of the things to just kind of keep income coming into our home, and was making stupid decisions as well. But I do remember this. I do remember at the end of the day, I studied, and I buckled down, and I said, your path is not going to be like everybody else's. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be um like, girl, I knocked it out the park or whatever else. Your path is going to be your path. And baby, I studied for that exam, and I didn't tell nobody. And I went and took that exam that one day. I didn't tell nobody. And everybody else was like, oh, mine cut off at 75 or whatever. I think mine cut out at 99 or 100. I can't even remember, okay? And I remember getting this feeling like, because people were saying if you cut out underneath this, either you fail really bad or you pass really bad. And I remember being at home and my mom coming up the steps, and I said, Mom, took my exam today. And she said, well, what, kind of thing. And I said, yeah. I said it cut off, and I gave her the number, and she started screaming and everything else, because this was like, girl, what is going on with you failing these exams? My daddy, when I told my daddy I passed, he was like, by time Yeah, y'all, I'm telling you, it was something serious. But one thing I remember is to get the official report. It was my birthday. And one of my best friends during that time, who is still dear to my heart, I know we don't talk as much, but Jessica, she was like, your name is on the roster. So when you become an RN, your name hit this roster. And she said, your name on the roster. And I remember just crying and thanking God and everything else because we was out at like this festival, like it's 4th of July. So out at this festival, I remember crying like, God, you finally let me breathe. You finally let me win one. And all of those feelings and all of those failures and accomplishments and the people who helped me and like being involved in church and like all of the things that I remember, the highs and lows of it all, is all what becoming an RN meant for me. So when people be like, Dr. Baker, what's up with you in this RN? Baby, it's a part of me. This is a fire in me. And going through that test and getting them 300 questions and everything else, baby, in med school, that's standard. 300 and something questions is half the test. Okay? So the things that it prepared me for, it built a foundation for this MD, man, and building on being not just a good nurse, but being a great nurse. And it led me into leadership. It led me into nurse supervisor. It led me into charge RN. It led me from psych with kids to, doing med surge things and OBS and travel nursing. But it broadened my horizons. So when y'all out here like, Dr. Judy, come on now, you an MD now, Lord. Like, what's up with the RN? That's what's up with the RN, baby. It didn't come easy. It wasn't quiet. It wasn't even cute. But it is me, and I worked hard for that joker, and I need to get it reinstilled. But I just wanted you to know that no matter what you're working for, I don't care if it's the initials or not, the blood, sweat, and tears that you do to get to the place that you desire to be deserves to be celebrated. And it deserves to be held on to. And it deserves to be remembered because it's a part of you. So I'm celebrating you. And y'all tell these people leave me alone, but I want my RN reinstated. But I just wanted to share that story with you because people ask me all the time, like, what's up with you holding on to this RN? Baby, it's so much more than just letters behind my name or a piece of paper to hang on the wall. It was something that I fought for, and I fumbled, and I failed. But listen, I function, baby. I function. Listen, you want to hear more stories like this? Stay tuned. There's so much more. So I got a bachelor's in science and nursing, y'all, in 2006 in Anchorage, Alaska, at the University of Alaska at Anchorage. And I'm so proud of it. I am so very proud of it. And yeah, can't nobody take that away from me. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. So I wanted to show y'all this story because there's a lot of young ladies that, and young men actually, who have asked me in the past, like, I failed this class. I didn't make it. They didn't accept me. I know all about it. I know all about it, but I want you to know that you can still make it to the top in an unorthodox manner. Whether or not you had the tools or whether or not the cards that you got dealt was a trash hand, whether or not you had to scrape up things from fundraisers, whether or not you got kids, divorced, whether or not you're grieving because you've lost someone, or parents or family, like all of these things was a part of my story. I lost a lot, but man, I gained so much more. So stay in it. That's what I want you to know. To win, you just got to stay in it. Okay? So listen, this is Dr. TVB, your Elite MD. Winners win, and I am winning. And I want you to win too. Okay? More stories to come, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one.